Welcome, Odooers. I'm here with Mohamed,
Hello.
our post PO. Myself, I'm Hermine. I'm a post and IoT expert here at Odoo. So we're here today to present you the release highlights 19.1 and 19.2. So what's on the agenda today? So we're going to present you new features that have been backported to 19, release highlights in 19.1 and 19.2, some IoT and hardware improvements, what's coming next in the next releases, and some configurations and best practices for the IoT and some hardware. So let's go. So what has been backported in 19.0? So first of all, we have a new terminal available, so it's Molly, which is really interesting. Molly is also available as an online provider, so it's really nice for people that just want to work with one provider only if they also have a website, let's say, for instance. We also have the possibility today to configure hardware with the local network access, which really improves the configuration. It's easier. I'm going to discuss it a bit later during the best practices for the network and the hardware as well. Now, what's new as well is that in the post itself, you will be able to see what is the status of your LNA configuration, if it's active, not active, and so on. So our first improvement that we can actually present to you in the database is here the long press to edit for the combo. So let's go directly in the database and show you how it works. So if you now add a combo in your point of sale, you will be able to choose, of course, the options. So let's say I'm going to add that. If the person changes his mind, just by having a long press here on the product, you will be able to choose the selection and change that here.
Just keep in mind that once you send it to the kitchen, you cannot edit the combo itself.
Indeed, that's nice to add as well. So quite an improvement to change courses quite easily for the waiters in the restaurants. Another really nice improvement that has been added is that now if you go into the post configurations, you have a checklist that will help you configure the printers and make sure that all the configurations are correct. So you can easily connect the printers via the LNA configuration. So let me show you how it works. Just by going here in the small configurations of your post, you go to configure, you go to the checklist, and here we have a few things to check in order to make sure that the configurations are good, correct, and that everything will work just by following these steps.
The way we structured it is put as a checklist, so you can, once you configure a printer for our clients, you can just check all the steps you have done. Also, if you need then any assistance or you need help through our support, you can then precisely say at which step you blocked or which step you could not go further. This list will tend to evolve because every time we have a new firmware for the Epson printers, maybe some option will disappear or new ones will appear. We'll try to adapt it as much as we can, but I think it's a very nice tool for the partners that have basic knowledge about some technical aspects. If you just follow it step by step, we also put all the URLs that you have to copy paste in order to make it very simple for you to configure the hardware.
Quite nice. It helps us consultants as well to install
indeed.
the printers. So a really nice thing that has been finally added that is live today is the Google reservations that you can add via your business account on Google. Now you can actually directly see that you can book via Odoo. Of course, it's completely integrated with the appointment application, and you can see the reservations directly in Odoo. So that's quite nice as well. Good, so moving on to the release highlights 19.1. So we have added the refund flow for Stripe and ADN. So via the terminal, you will be able to refund your customers. And then a second improvement here is the snooze for the product availability. So in the post directly, you will be able to snooze a product, meaning it's not going to be available anymore. So let me show you how that works. So let's go ahead and start a new order here. If I go to the drinks, let's say, and I press here on the espresso, so if I go on the self, so of course the link is there with the self order, the kiosk. If I go to the self...
Not the kiosk, just the self.
Okay.
The self link to the post config you're actually using.
Okay, so here you can see the espresso is available today. And if I go here and long press on my espresso, you will have here the info, product info, and you can actually snooze the product, let's say 1 hour, 2 hours for the session or the 4 hours, as you can see. So here I can just apply it. You can see the timer as well. And if I come back on myself, you will now see that the espresso is going to be not available anymore. In the post itself, you can actually see it because the product is a bit more gray, the colors are less vivid, but you're not blocked. So if you still see that you have a coffee available, you can still add it in the cart and basically proceed with the order. But at least you have a visual explanation here to see, okay, I think the product is not available, let me check with the stock, with the kitchen, and so on.
This feature is quite ideal if you have several waiters working in the restaurant and you know that some items are not available anymore. You can just, in 2 clicks, snooze the product. So every waiter is aware when he's taking the order that this item cannot be added. For the next improvement, what we will do, because for the moment we have been very permissive, which is also the way we work at Odoo. But we can understand that people need more guarantee that these products cannot be added, or maybe they just need more warnings. So in the next version, you will have a pop-up asking you to confirm that you're trying to add a product which is snoozed, because you may never know, maybe your stock is wrong, but you still can provide the product. When you snooze a product, it's instantly updated on all the device using the post config. So no need to refresh or reload data also.
Okay, that's a nice addition. So the next thing that you will notice in the configuration is that we now have a real printers model. So what's the difference here is that you can configure the printers from one screen, let's say. So you can choose if it's a preparation printer, if it's a receipt printer. You can choose a printer type, EPOS or VIOT. And you can notice here we have a new way of connecting printers. IMIN.
Yeah, IMIN is a brand of hardware, mostly used in Asia, but slowly coming to Europe, just like Sunmi also. We had a lot of requests from Asia to introduce this kind of this model, because the way the printer work is not, let's say, the traditional way. So we had to make it work in a certain way, but the configuration will be still very easy. You just select the boolean IMIN, you enter the IP address of the printer, and it just works out of the box. Also keep in mind that we have IMIN, Sunmi is incoming, but we know that we have a lot of demands for a lot of hardware. It's always the same use case, so it's the double screen station with the integrated printer. So what we are working on now is trying to find a way to find a generic solution to make sure that we manage the printers properly for every use case. This is still ongoing. We will see what we can do in order to see. Otherwise, it will be just like asking us to do one integration per brand, which is of course impossible for us for the long term.
So here you can indeed enter the IP address or connect with the IoT, just the classic way. You can select if you want to use the local network access here, which we really advise if you can use it. So we'll explain a bit later more about that. And of course here, if you're using a printer, a preparation printer, you can actually add the categories that you would like to print on this particular printer just from the same screen. So it's really easy to do. You might have noticed as well that you can directly test if the connection with the printer is well established, if the printer works, just by clicking here on the test button as well, which makes it even more easy to connect. And then we also have the notion of being able to add a fallback printer if you have like interruption with the network and you have like a 4G backup router that you might use. Today you can actually put the default printer in the post config. You can also put all the other available printers that you might have pre-configured in case of issues that you can just change quite easily to continue operation just as before. And as you can see, if that happens, if the first printer is not reachable, it will ask you if you would like to select the second one, and then you just go ahead and continue.
So the first step was to introduce this concept of fallback printers, being able to manage several printers from the same post config. But we went further, because it has been asked quite often, is to be able to use several printers within the POS and be able to choose which one you want to print on. So for the moment, we just have this, but after 19.3, you will be even able to have one printer linked per device on the same post config, which means that both of our computers can have each one their own printers next to it. So it's better for big restaurant where you have like several payment checkout points, or if you have a restaurant with several floors, you know that you have maybe one checkout per floor, then you know you have one printer there and there. But voilà, this is the way we are going to. It's ensuring that each device that's running the POS can manage its own hardware, because every waiter has to be able to manage his own hardware when he's working. Maybe we'll go further, but it depends on the request. But we know that there is some portable printers available on the market, but depending on the demand and the easiness of integrating it, we might go also on that way, because we know that bigger structure just provide a printer per waiter and a terminal payment per waiter. So I think
that's actually very nice, because you could have just one post config, different stations, each connected with their printers, and just having to do one closing. Of course, if you have one cash drawer, that would be the limitation here. If you have several, then you need to create a new post config. But it's really nice that you can have the different stations working independently,
yes,
but still one closing to do. Good. So a very nice improvement here is the automatic course allocation. So that was quite asked from restaurants, obviously. So let me show you how it works. So today you have the POS product categories. And if we take a look at the product categories that I've added here in my point of sale, the restaurant one, you can see that you now have a course field here that you can fill up. Let me just unselect everything. And if you go on it, you can actually say, okay, what kind of course is it? Is it a main dish, a dessert, starters? You can call it course 1, 2, 3, depending on how you would like it to be. And all the products that are in the post category here will be added automatically in that course. There's a setting to also activate here. So it's the setting here. I will maybe...
It's automatic course allocation.
Automatic course allocation. So it's the one here that we have already checked. So let me show you how it works.
Maybe what we can just do in the setting is show also under configuration on top. We have also the course menu items.
Indeed, and you have the courses here.
Just for you to understand, so as we can see, they follow a sequence to ensure that within the post order, you follow this sequence. So you can reorganize it the way you want, of course.
Indeed, you will see that starters will be at the top,
exactly,
because it's a first sequence, main dish will be the second one, and dessert, and you can just drag and drop,
right? You can just drag and drop it.
As easy
this
as
is
that.
how it's going to be printed on the preparation ticket, so for the kitchen.
Maybe let me open the prep display as well, so I can show how it looks on the prep display, and let's go ahead and create an order. So I will start maybe with the dessert. So here you will see the tiramisu is immediately added in the dessert section. Let's add a brownie. Let's go for starters now, carpaccio and cheese croquette. So you see the starters are at the top, and let's add now the food as well, and maybe a club sandwich. So you can see it has been automatically displayed here in the card in the right sections. And if I now send it to the prep display, you will see that we have here the starters first. Then we have, of course, the main dishes that are pending and the dessert as well, until the waiter is going to fire the course. So here he really needs to say, okay, now fire the main dish because they're ready with the starters. And then the pending tag here is going to disappear. Maybe I can show you. So let's say we're ready with the starters. If I just fire the course here, now you can see the link with the prep display where the main dish is ready to be prepared here. Okay, let's go back to the slides. So that's the automatic course allocation. So you need to add the course on the post category and of course add the automatic course allocation here. Maybe you can present this one, but the floor plan editor has been really improved with more advanced features.
Yes, indeed. It was a big request we received, and we wanted to make the addition of the floor plan like Paint 2.0. So how do? You just have to click here on this button, and then you have the ability to change quite everything. So what you can do here is first select the floor plan you want to work on. You can just easily add a new one. Then you just add a table. As from there, quite easy. In the past, I think we just had like a rectangle and round. Now you have, sorry, more forms. Also, what is very interesting is actually the visuals you can provide. This is something we, I think, did not take into priority because it seemed to be superficial. But what we've seen on the field is that, of course, as a restaurant owner, you have a lot of rolling employees, mostly students, that could have been working here for like 1 week maximum. They still don't know how the floor plan is organized. This one is quite simple. I have 12 tables. Reality is some of our clients have maybe 50 tables on the floor plan. So what you do, you actually build what you want people to see. You can just add, for instance, toilets. You could build a room by building it with arrows and straight lines. You can also add whatever image you want. We just support them. You can add a block of text, like this is the kitchen, and then you could just put it somewhere here. You can, of course, edit it, duplicate it, etc. We went quite far with the possibility we provide, but I think it's worth it. Also, what you can do here is actually change the background. We provide some default backgrounds. We try to select the best ones we could find. But if you're not satisfied with it, you can just import whatever background you have. You can just import an image, and it's quite good. Also, if you did a mistake, you want to go back, everything is saved on the web browser. So you can just go back and just remove what you have done. Be also aware, and this is a limitation we had in the past, we edited the floor plan on a desktop display, but of course Odoo is very responsive. You can work from your mobile, from a tablet, from any type of screen. All the proportions are kept properly, so if you switch between device, you will not have any more problems with table changing, some padding being added there, or maybe some weird scrolling. Now you just have like a very responsive screen that can just really adapt to your use case.
Okay, thank you. That's quite an improvement. Way more visual,
Yeah,
what you
indeed.
can actually see in the point of sale. Good, so here another really nice one that I like very much is the automatic recognition of combo choices. So today you have the option to either click on the combo and then the options will be shown. But if you add, let's say, the burger separately and then a drink, and you have a menu for that, a combo product, then automatically the POS is going to show you that you have a combo with a more advantageous price, basically, that you can apply. So let's go ahead and show you how it works. So let me just find a combo. I think a burger with a drink is going to do what we need. So I'm going to add my burger, just
Top
taking
left, yes.
a look, thank you. And then I'm going to take, let's say, green tea as well. And, but here
Green
we
tea is
don't-
not in the menu. Maybe
I
select
think a
another drink.
cola,
Yes.
yeah. And
perfect.
here you can see indeed that the POS automatically sees that we have a burger menu combo that we can apply. I'm not going to apply it directly because here the big advantage is that you can basically send this to the kitchen depending on, you know, the course allocation that you had added. Now it's not the best example here, but you can send it to the kitchen with the starter, with the main course, the dessert, because it's the POS order lines that are separate here. If you have the combo, we didn't have this option, so it was sent together to the kitchen. So this is really nice. And when you go basically to pay, then you can actually apply the combo here. Now, if I do apply it, you will see it will create the combo, but if I did start with the combo, you can also break the combo here, which is really nice because you break the combo, you send it to the kitchen, and then when you're ready to pay, you just apply it again. The price automatically changes as well,
Yes.
so everything is good basically for the payment itself.
So also, now that I see this, the whole idea of adding this quick apply is to, first of all, as a waiter, when you take an order, is to invite the client to take maybe something else to complete also the combo. Or you can just propose, or if you take this option, you save some money. But what we added also is upsell on the combo configuration. I will just show it, and you can test it at home. Up, combo choice. Here, I will just look at the drinks. Voilà. As you can see, we still have the maximum and maximum items and include item, which is actually the minimum item, but the phrasing is more friendly. But we have this option, is upsell. What does that mean? It means that is upsell, when you add it into a combo, if you select some item of the combo, the POS will say, you know what, you can do a combo product with what you currently have, but you can do an upsell with these products. So these products are not mandatory, but it's like saying to a client, oh, you know, for €1 additional, you can get the big size, or you can get this additional product. For the moment, it's handled only in the POS, so for the waiter side, it's also incoming in the next version in the self and in the kiosk to actually increase the upselling and to, let's say, push people to consume maybe some items that they wouldn't have done. Voilà.
Good. It becomes quite complete actually here for restaurants.
We try.
Okay, so here we have the releases 19.2. So let's go ahead. That's one that is actually has been asked for some time now, and we finally have it. So it's the fact to be able to customize the info per shop, per restaurant, basically, because up until today, on the receipt, you saw the company info and not the info of the shop or restaurant itself. So let me show you how it looks. Of course, you need to go into the configurations here of the point of sale. Let's go down, and here you can see you can customize the info. So here it's all about the restaurant, the addresses, and I've put a specific logo here that we'll be able to see. So if I now proceed to the payment, you will see here that if I validate, and here I don't have the receipt, let me just go ahead. Yeah. And I'm going to show it to you like that.
You have the delivery, voilà.
Here. So here, if you take a look, you will see we have the restaurant icon. We have all the info related to the restaurant that you can see here at the bottom. And if I now go to my point of sale, the retail one, let's say, the shop, of course, I have another information on the customer info. So let's go ahead and see. On the shop here, you can see that we have the info of the shop with another icon here. So let's go ahead and open this one. And I'm going to proceed.
Don't go too fast. Well, I want to show something. On that screen, as you can see, the payment method, the first one has already been put at the bottom. So you don't need to select it. You see the primary button on top,
yes.
On the bottom, sorry. It's already Espèce, which is the first payment method.
Indeed.
Which means that you can go quite fast. If you know what you're doing, by clicking this, we'll actually add the first payment method line.
Okay, let's go ahead and see. And here you can actually see that we have the ticket here with a shop icon, with all the info about the shop here and not the restaurant. So this is pretty nice as well. Good. Another one that's really nice, especially if you are in a restaurant, is the fact that you can order on the shelf. And depending on the orders being changed on the prep display, on the kitchen display, so when it moves to ready, the customer is going to be notified by SMS or even WhatsApp. As you can see, we have WhatsApp here. Now, just be aware that WhatsApp, you need to make sure that the templates are validated by WhatsApp, which is Meta, if I'm not mistaken. And here you can, of course, add the templates. So the fact that you receive the confirmation of the order and the fact that the order is ready to be taken from, just go and take your order.
Just so you know, the order received is of course the first stage in my preparation display, but order is ready is actually the last stage -1, so the stage before the last one actually. Today it's pretty basic. Here I can show it. So what does that mean exactly? It means that the message will be sent once it reaches that screen, not this one. Because we believe that if you work with these 3 stages, and we see that some of our clients actually do, because they don't need more, when it's on that screen, the SMS and the WhatsApp is sent. When the client comes and get it, you can just then move it here, complete it, and then it's done.
Good. So this is really nice if you work with the self, especially as well.
Also, a nice improvement. For the moment, it's only for Viva Wallet, but we aim to do it also with other payment provider that provide a mobile app, is to actually use the Odoo Android app, and here in this case, Viva Android app, to make sure that if you configure it properly, and what do I mean? You just configure a Viva payment method in Odoo, so it's quite straightforward. Once you select it, it will actually change the application on your screen by its own. And then you will land on the Viva app, you validate the payments, you touch nothing, and then the Viva app is closed and the Odoo app is brought up again. Just to say that now it's more interactive, we put more and more energy working with the Android apps. It allows us to have more possibilities. This flow works with the web app also, but I duly advise you to work with the Android app. I mean, it's a very perfect match. You have less weird spacing on top, etc. It's quite well optimized.
Okay. So let's go through some IoT and hardware improvements. So here, a very important one is that with the new images, basically, of the IoT. Now, the difference here is the version on which you are on the database. So before 19.1, if you use at least the image 2507 that you can see here, basically on nightly, then the code of the IoT is going to be updated automatically. Now, before 19.1, only on the reboot of the IoT, and after 19.1, you can just leave the system do its thing, because each Monday it's going to automatically update the code, and if you reboot, of course, it's going to update the code as well. So for bug fixes that might come, issues that you need to fix, it's really nice because you don't need to reflash the IoT each time, which is a very big improvement, especially if you have different IoTs, different shops that you need to manage. Now, another thing that's coming, so we've been working on cash machines quite a lot. We already have Glory, the Glory cash machines. Cash Draw is available in 19.1, and we will see that Cashmatic is coming in the next versions.
But be aware that since it's always new modules we add, we can actually put it in stable version. So if we can target 19, of course we will do, and we'll communicate it. So then you have the choice, and we know that some of our clients come from other POS systems. They already invested a lot of money in hardware, especially this machine that can be very costly. Be aware that we are working on it, so you can just reuse it within Odoo and do not lose it.
Good. So here we have another nice improvement is the fact that we're scale certified today. So we have a European directive basically that asks us to be certified. Now, not all countries are even quite strict about the regulation, let's say. It has not always been translated into laws in the country itself, but countries like France, Germany, Switzerland, they really need this certification. So today we're certified, but just in 19 and 18, so major versions only. 19.1 is not certified, 18.1 is not certified either.
Just to make sure people understand also the scope of these certifications, because it's not because we went through an audit, etc., that all of our users have to use this module. And what do I mean by that? You have to install this module only if you work directly with the POS connected to the scale. So which means we receive the information from the scale, etc. Because we have to prove that we get the right numbers from the scale and that we do not manipulate it from the POS, or that our computation are correct. If you still work with double entries, which is I have a scale working independently and my POS here, and I just decide to manually type within my POS, you don't need the certification. Also, if you work with the barcode system, which is the scale provide me a small barcode, I scan it, and I have the order line completed with the product, the price, and the weight, you don't need the certified module. So be aware that it has consequences also to choose this module, because we have to be a little bit more restrictive on some aspect, because it was just required. Make sure to just read the doc, see according to your volume in your store if you have a real advantage in using this module, because it adds a lot of added value for your shop.
That's interesting what you say. So here it's about having the integrated scale. So using an IoT, so the weight is directly input in Odoo and you don't need to type it basically manually. So if that's the way you choose to go, then just be aware that the module is not auto-installed. So I've put the module here so you can see which one it is and add it on the database to make sure you are certified with indeed the restrictions that Mohamed spoke about. Now for scales, just keep in mind that we're only integrated with Metler Toledo scales following the 8217 communication protocol. And if you would like to have the integration, so the weight being automatically added in Odoo, you need an IoT to function. And we advise the physical one here.
I would also like to add something, because recently we've had problems with this module. The checksum changed. It's because we had to push a fix in 18. Unfortunately, everything we do then in stable version has impact. And this is the reason why we cannot proceed for the moment to do it for all the versions, because we would have to get certified for every intermediary version, which is a lot of investment, of course, in terms of work and restrictions. So for the moment, this is what we do. For Odoo 20, you can be confident about the future, because I know that some people didn't know if we were going to continue supporting it or not. We are trying to find a way to see if either we have to keep doing this certification, which of course will be more and more easy for us because we will modify less and less stuff. But we might also change the overall architecture of the product, the way we receive information and send information to the scale. This is still at the R&D stage, but that may mean that in the incoming future, the certification might not be needed anymore because we do not comply certain use cases, and that will be okay. But if we cannot, we'll just keep maintaining this module, just like the way we do now.
Okay, thanks for this extra info. What's very nice as well is that now, depending on the version on which you are, some payment terminals have now the refund functionality that you can actually use. So you can see here Stripe and ADN as from 19.1, Viva Wallet has been already up quite for some time, 18.3, 6 from 17, and Molly as from 19. For the kiosks, all payment terminals are compatible as from 19.1. So if you are using a kiosk with a payment terminal, just make sure that the option is compatible, because it's not always the case. So this you can see basically in the DB which ones are available or not. And now maybe you can explain to us what's coming soon. That would be interesting to hear from you.
The first one is download invoices instead of generating each time. So what we'll do in the backend, we'll add you a setting that actually asks you, it's a Boolean, if you either want to generate the invoice every time you want to invoice a post order. Why did we do this? We know that for some fiscal modules, we have to generate an invoice all the time. It slows the UI a lot. You always lose like between 2 and 4 seconds, depending on your internet connection. So what we will do now, you will have the setting available. If you don't need to download the invoice in the front end, so from your POS, it's okay. Then the UI will never be blocked. The invoice will be created in the backend, no worries about it. So then you either send them by the end of the day, if you need to download them, but if not, then you can just invoice orders. And also don't forget that when you invoice in POS, the invoice is automatically sent by email to the client. So you don't have to think about it that much. Second thing is booking merge with POS. We know that people need a little bit more reporting about their clients' habits. Some restaurants receive some regular clients. They would like to be able to get some more interesting reporting. So what we do now, when a client does a booking online or you do it manually, you can link it to a partner, and then you can link it to the actual post order. So you can already think, okay, if I have a client coming every 2 weeks, I know that the average revenue per client is maybe like X amount of euro. So it can give you a better idea on how to treat your clients, or just a better idea about your reporting. The third thing is drag and drop sequence product in the POS. So the display in the POS for the moment is managed by the backend, which means that if you go on the backend on the list view, the way you see the products is the way they are going to be displayed in the POS. What do I mean? Product, list view. So as you can see, you can actually sequence the product. It means that if I move here pizza margherita on top, in my POS, pizza margherita will appear on top of the burger. What we will do, because I know that this can be very hard, especially if you have several categories, and here I have only 50 products, so maybe it's not very realistic for everyone, but it will be able to just drag and drop products like this in the POS. By doing so, you can quickly customize your POS to keep your habits. All the sequencing is also adapted on all the linked device to the same POS config, so no need to refresh, etc. It will be very easy to do it. The fourth thing, we have some kiosk and self-improvements. The first one, you will be able to set a maximum delivery distance. Why? Because for the moment in Odoo, if you use the deliveries with the self in the POS, a client living 50 kilometers away can still place an order, and if he pays it, of course, it's a little bit annoying. So what we introduce is just we use the Google address API to make sure that if you set that the maximum delivery distance is 10 kilometers, we check the address and we see if the client is eligible for a delivery or not. Of course, you have an UI saying that, oh no, you're too far, etc. You can fall back on other presets if available. We can also change the preset at the end of the order, which means that, let's say you have a kiosk, and it will be mostly the cases. People don't know yet if they want to dine in or take it out. They have to choose it at the beginning of the order, but it might evolve considering people just discuss together. So they will be able to change it at the end. And the last point is adding optional products and loyalty. This part is quite huge, so it will take a little bit more time. But as you can see, when you take all these features, you can see that we are going into a way that we want to make the POS self very complete to compete with big food aggregator. Of course, we don't do the same business as Uber, Takeaway, etc. But if a client wants to use the self instead of this platform, he will get at least some very nice feature to be able to work with. The last here is the accounting improvement. So for the moment, and it's from 18, we removed the journal entries if you have a difference at opening. And this is something people complained about because we do not input journal items anymore. So it's quite a little bit harder to catch if a mistake has been done or if some money has disappeared. But we didn't have much choice in the past. So what we'll do now is actually link the cash in the POS with the bank statement in the backend, which means the numbers will always be correlated. When you close the POS, the amount is input into the bank statement. If you modify something within the bank statement, when you open the POS, the number will be updated. Doing so, we ensure that if you have any doubt or if you need to do any reporting from the bank statement, you can follow every cash move that has been done and you can keep track of everything. So this is the same.
Yes, you can just take next one.
So also for the cash machine, so we have Glory 19, Cash Draw. Cashmatic is also incoming. Cashmatic is quite pretty used in North Africa, Italy, and a lot of countries also in Europe. So you know, then you have the choice to work with the machine you have or the machine you want. Not all the machines do the same. What I mean by that is that some of them provide a very nice web interface to communicate with. Some of them don't. So also take this into consideration. But in the POS, the experience will remain the same in general. Also, for later, since this machine will be integrated in POS, we'll make sure they work with the kiosk also.
Okay.
And the two last points is the label printing through the local network for Zebra printer, and also for you can print labels with EPOS printer. I forgot the model of the printer. It's M100 or something like that. It's
That's
just
okay.
to say that to print labels, now we have an Epson printer. It's pretty easy to configure. The price is a little bit higher than the classic Zebra one.
But you don't need an IoT.
But you don't need an IoT, and also the quality of the print is better. So
perfect. So here
so
the
you can
idea
choose.
is to remove the IoT when possible, basically.
Exactly. As you can see, we try to move as far as we can from the IoT box, because the market allow it to us with all the new hardware working through the network. We actually diminish the need of having this intermediary hardware.
Which also brings a layer of complexity. So we're going to discuss that just now. Before that, we also have some BlackBox improvements. So we will have what we will call the BlackBox 2.0. This is a very Belgian thing, so maybe you might not know what we're speaking about.
We'll call it the O-box, so you know.
Okay, the O-box from Odoo, I guess. Yeah. Indeed. So here it will be really a black box developed by Odoo itself. So we're actually providing the black box itself. We need to be certified and for the device, but also for the software, which is taking a bit of time, discussion with the fiscal departments. So that's why it's taking a bit of time. The idea is that it will be free for all Odoo customers, as I see.
Yes, with the current hospitality offer we have for the moment, we'll provide it for free. It will also be something you can buy. The price has not been fixed yet, but according to what I've heard, it should be around 300 or 400 maximum, which should be the prices of the market. You will see. For the moment, we cannot sell them, and that's normal. The SPF has not given yet the start. The reason is they are waiting for more companies to get their device certified. And that is also the reason why the start date of the implementation of the law has been postponed several times. I think the last due date was the 1st of March, and now they are pushing it around the 1st of July. They want to reinvigorate the market, so that makes also sense, give more time for everyone. But once it will be ready, also be aware, whatever the POS system you use or whatever black box you choose, they will all be compatible to each other, which means that if you want to use another POS system than the Odoo one, you can still buy our black box and it will work with this POS system. So this is a big advantage according to the spec. So there's something great. We'll see how it goes, but at least people will have more choice and not be dependent on a few pieces of hardware available. So
Odoo becomes basically a black box provider.
Exactly. So we build it our own.
Non-Odoo customers can actually buy it, then it will be paid for them.
Exactly.
Okay. I think the advantage here, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you will not need an IoT. It's basically a Raspberry Pi. So that's also interesting to note. So
the base of it is actually a Raspberry Pi, but of course we customized it physically, as you will see when it will be available, but also internally in order to follow the spec of the government. The whole idea is this box is connected through network and it just ping the SPF servers in live. So which means that, let's say the auditors, when they will decide which client to control or not, it's because they would have already gathered a lot of data. And because some data may be suspicious, then they will go on, which will then reduce the amount of random control they currently do.
Okay, nice. So let's go through some configurations and best practices here for everything related to hardware, but also the browsers. Actually here, this is a big thing that you need to know actually if you're using especially the point of sale. So what we advise here is to always go for Chromium-based browsers. We usually recommend Chrome, but if you have Edge or Brave, it's fine as well. Now, if you have version at least 142, you can use the LNA, Local Network Access Configuration, which makes it really more easy to configure. It's really the best one, the one that we advise. The DNS settings on the browser itself, that's for PCs. On a tablet, you might need to search a bit how to change the DNS setting. But the
if you
idea
don't know,
stays.
just go on the setting of the browser, and everything we see we put, just type it. Most browsers are well done, so you can easily find everything we put.
Absolutely, but the idea remains the same. You need to change to Google, DNS, and Cloudflare because those are the ones that works basically with our configurations. So this is important, especially for IoT configurations and for when you configure printers via the auto certificate SSL. I'm going to discuss that, and the LNA configuration as well. And then maybe a best practice to make sure that your POS doesn't block is to disable the memory saving feature from Chrome. So this is really going to help you out. Now for the network, this is a big part of when you configure a printer, the IoT. The idea is to always use an Ethernet connectivity. It's always more stable than Wi-Fi. Of course, if it's not possible, otherwise take the Wi-Fi, but that's basically what we advise. When you connect an IoT and devices, the Odoo database, the IoT, the devices need to be on the same network, so this is really important. If you have sub-networks, just make sure all the devices are connected to the same one. Otherwise, the IoT, for instance, is not going to detect the devices, and Odoo is not going to be able to communicate with them either. Never use guest networks, obviously, because they don't allow you to see the other devices. And what we advise, imagine a restaurant, we might have a Wi-Fi for the clients, is to have a separate network for them and to have a specific one for the POS configurations, the checkout, the devices, the IoT. Now, if you have additional routers in the network, just make sure to configure them in bridged mode because the IP assignation can give errors because they would both try to assign IP addresses to the devices, which can really cause issues in the network. If you do have some specific firewall or DNS configurations in a complex network setup, please ask your system administrator to come during the installation to be able to open the necessary ports, to be able to change the DNS configurations as well. And of course, when you use an IoT, when you use a printer, especially if you configure it via the IP address, you should absolutely configure it as a static IP address, reserve this IP, otherwise the link between the Odoo and the device is just going to be broken and we cannot communicate. So to have a stable system, use static IP addresses for IoTs and printers mostly.
Indeed.
Now, the LNA configuration, what is the very interesting feature here is that you can just allow your browser to communicate with your local network. So you give access to the Odoo database to communicate with your local network. And the idea here is that you don't need to import an SSL certificate on each device that's going to use the printers, for instance, which makes it really, really more easy to install, especially in a restaurant with different tablets communicating with the printers. It's going to make your life really more easy.
And once you do it once from any computer or device connected to Odoo, the other devices will be invited to use the local network per browser working on each device. So it means that in terms of configuration, you will have less and less to think about because everything will be working pretty fine.
So if you have a new tablet, just
you will just actually open the POS, and since the printer is configured as to be used with LNA, once you will try to print something, if you use a Chromium-based browser, it will just ask you, oh, you should use the LNA, and just click on accept. Once you accept it, it's done. You don't need to do anything else.
Now, the only thing is that you need to be on Chromium-based browsers with a version at least 142, and iOS devices do not support LNA. So there you need to take one of the more classic, indeed, the more classic configurations. Wow. So let's go through all the ways you can configure a printer. It's interesting to note. So of course you have the classic SSL certificate. There you need to generate the certificate and export and import it on all the devices that are going to use it. So if you have a new tablet, you also need to add the certificate. Via the IoT, the certificate is actually managed through the IoT, which makes it a bit more plug and play, but we prefer avoiding the IoT if we can. Of course, some printers require the IoT, so you cannot do without. But if you can, just try without the IoT. Then we have a specific way of configuring a specific model. So it's a TMM 33 eyes. So here, this model here, the 112 for Ethernet or 152 for Wi-Fi. This one actually allows you to have an auto certificate generation. So you don't need to import the certificate. It's going to be auto-generated. And you don't use the IP address, you use the serial number basically of the printer. So that's a good option for IoT devices if you really want to make it kind of plug and play to configure the printers. And finally, we have the LNA. So this is really the preferred option that we advise as Odoo. So here you just need to redirect the HTTP to HTTPS and disable this feature, so you're in not secure. But with the LNA, which is kind of a security layer from Chrome, you will be able to just say, okay, I just authorize Odoo to communicate, your database to communicate with the devices in the local network.
Don't be afraid if you don't understand everything. You're afraid, okay, it's a lot of information. All of it is accessible from the checklist.
Absolutely.
In the POS. So every step is explained. We explain also for the version before 19.1, and for the ones after it, we actually explained these steps one by one with the correct screenshots and the correct URLs that you need to use, so you can make your configuration quite smooth.
Indeed. Like we said, the checklist is just there, so don't be afraid of forgetting anything. Yeah, maybe just for the BlackBox, we have seen with the experience that we have from implementing bars and restaurants that it's really important to take the right and the qualitative cables. Maybe we can add the slides in the chatter so you can take a look and follow the links that we have here. But it's important to take the right cables, and we have listed them here to make sure that everything is going to work right. This is true, I think, for BlackBox 1.0. It might not be true for 2.0 if I'm not mistaken.
But don't worry, for the box, we provide all the cables with it, so you don't have to think about it. But for the current ones, of course, we've seen a lot of things that our customer used, and sometimes it was failing. We didn't understand why until that we discovered that it was the cable's fault. Because it wasn't qualitative. So it helped us a lot to see everything on the market. So now we can actually advise you with the best practice and the best hardware to use
exactly
to prevent having any problem.
Like we said, with the BlackBox 1.0, the IoT is required still. You also need to register the business and the software on the SPF side. So and the client and Odoo need to do that. So the installation needs to kind of be done in 2 steps, because you need to also give the MAC address of the IoT to the SPF. And by doing that, you will at some point receive, as well, if you're a new business, the VAT signing card. Don't connect the BlackBox if you don't have the VAT signing card, because you will be blocked, especially if you already use Odoo. So do it once you have the card, and then you can set up everything correctly. So that's our advice to you. And lastly, the IoT. So here, the best practice is to always take the latest image of the IoT, obviously, with the new features, sometimes bug fixes that come as well. So that's why we advise the latest. And with what we have seen today, you have the auto code update, so on reboot or each Monday, depending on the version of your database. So if we are speaking about restaurants, we advise the physical IoT. It depends on the hardware. For retail shops, you can use the virtual one if you're on Windows. Now, it's just for the BlackBox that we advise usually the physical one. And for scales, because the difference between the virtual one and the physical one is that the drivers are already installed on the physical IoT, which is important for scales, not so much for the rest of the devices. But for the BlackBox, indeed, go for the physical one. What you need to do before installing the IoT is making sure that the IoT subscription will be present on your sub. So it should be automatic, but...
Yeah, now we do it automatically. Once you activate your BlackBox, it actually check the state of the database to see if it's registered, if it has a subscription. If yes, it pings odoo.com. We add the SO line. But don't worry, even if it's not done immediately, now you actually have the certificates automatically. In the past, you had to wait for this line to be added, and then we could provide a certificate for your IoT box. this is all time. Now we just provide certificates all the time, and we manage this later.
We really do everything to ease the installation,
Exactly.
basically, so you're not blocked. You can start using it. Of course, if you don't make sure that the sub is there and paid, at some point it will be blocked. But anyways, just make sure that you have the IoT subscription. It should be automatic, but also with the right quantities. If you have 3 IoTs, make sure the quantity is 3. If you have 2 virtual downloads, then make sure it's 2. Then how to know if the IoT has generated the certificate correctly. So here you can see the IP address of an IoT, and you can also see the extension here that you can see in the database. Now in the newest versions, you can see that in the technical details if you go in debug mode basically. But this extension here with Odoo/IoT is the certificate that is generated. And a last tip, if you want to make sure that the IoT works as it should, you need to go on the IoT homepage from the green link I've showed you, or you have a button now to go to the homepage through the IoT. If you have access to this page, as you can see here, it means that your DNS is fine, firewalls is fine, the network is the same for the IoT and Odoo and the devices. If you see the devices, of course, and that the IoT is not down, basically. Now, if you have some firewall issues, then you would need to open the right incoming traffic, so the right ports for the incoming traffic, let's say. So we have the Odoo port 8069, 443 and 80 for HTTPS and HTTP port, and this will make sure that the IoT functions correctly. So that's it for now. We're going to take a minute to review your question from the Q&A, and we're coming right back. Okay, guys, we're back. So we have a question here from Robert13. So is it possible to turn a point of sale into an order so that items, comments, or adjustments can be added later if necessary? So it works one way. So you can create a sales order and push that one into the point of sale. But from a POS order, you cannot create a sales order yet. So it's not the idea. The POS is really payment interface actually, so it's a way to go. So let me show you how that would work. So instead, I might not have the application installed, so let me quickly go and install sales so I can show you how it works. So in a minute we'll have the application here, and basically in the point of sale you have a button, so it's called link quotation order, where you can actually push a sales order into the POS. So let's go ahead and create a new quotation. I'm just going to add a few products, or let's just add one. I can confirm or not, but from the moment you have that, if you go into your point of sale, you will see that I need to reload because I added this new module and my point of sale was already open. And now you can see the button, the link quotation order, where you can actually go and search the quotation, the sales order, and just push it. So you can either apply a down payment or settle the order. Applying a down payment is obviously going to give you some money to confirm the order. The sales order, if not already confirmed, will be confirmed and the product stays in stock. If you settle the order, you deliver the product and pay the amount due if you had previously added a down payment. So let's go ahead and settle, and you can see we have the product here with the SO reference, and you can just proceed and go through with the order. We're taking a look at the next questions.
Okay,
so do we have
usual.
a plan to support SumUp in the future or near future? So that's a question from support usual 584.
Now, SumUp is not in your current roadmap. The demand for the moment is quite low, and the offer they provide is not the best one in the market. So for the moment, we put it aside. Of course, as everything in Odoo, things evolve. So depending on the demand and the need on the market in the future, we might or not do it, of course. Just stay tuned and we'll see how things evolve.
Okay, we have a next question from Cebu07. So here the question is it possible to use Odoo POS for a hardware store? I would say, of course, it's possible. Just make sure to see if all the flows that you use, every process can be added in Odoo. But for, I would say a classic hardware store, I don't see why we would not be able to use it with Odoo.
So, question from LinkedIn. How to remove an article in the ticket before sending it? What I can imagine that someone is asking is more if before you send it to the kitchen, I guess, or before you print it, well, it's just as any other order, you can just actually remove the line. We do not restrict you to remove it. If you send it to the kitchen, it has been printed, you can of course then remove the line before the payment, but what has been sent already, of course, is already sent. Be also aware if you want to prevent or you want to track all the editions of the order lines, we have a setting in the backend called track order edit. I think it's ideal for restaurant because when you activate this setting, so you take the orders, and if you're afraid that someone from the staff removes some order lines before the payment, you can actually see it in the backend because every order line is flagged, so is the order, and you can see who did what and when. To make sure that we provide you better tracking in Odoo.
Maybe what I would add here, it depends also on the fiscal regulation, the localization that you are using. France, for instance, logs every action that has been taken. For the BlackBox, it's a bit the same. So if that's the question, then just be aware of the localization you are in. Okay, let's see for the next questions.
I have the question from Kong, sorry if I misspelled your name. you say that it does not work in Android POS. We need to make Android native POS. So if you go on the App Store from Android, you will see that we have an Odoo application. It might seem weird the way we built it because it is something in French we say in coquille vide. It's actually just an app, and we put all the web code, of course, within it. But it behaves like an app, so no worries. And we now support it for the next versions. So you can either use it on the kiosk or on the mobile. It just works natively. There is no issue with it.
So we have a next question from...
Maybe just if I can add details. If you don't find it or cannot make it work, make sure also that the device you're using is supporting the latest version of Android. Because it also can impact the use of the software if the device itself is too old.
Okay, so we have a question from Pietro Zermani. So is it possible to have a different price for combo menu option? A price different from the sum of the individual products that make up the combo? It's actually the feature itself. So let me show you with the demo data what we have. If we take the burger menu combo, so you can see it has been configured as a combo and the sales price is set up to be 10 euros. And it's not the addition of the different products. So if we take a look at the cheeseburger and the bacon burger, you can see the original price here, and we can also see the drinks. So you see it's not the sum of the products, it's really the price that you set up here. Okay, so that's the idea of the combo. It's really to manage menus, basically. You can use it, of course, for kind of combo deals, but the main goal was to handle the menus for the restaurants.
Just be aware also, when you have like this overall price of the combo, be aware that Odoo has to recompute all the time the price of the other lines. What does that mean? It means that if we both take a bacon burger, but I take a glass of wine and she takes a glass of water, since my glass is quite more expensive, you will see the prices moving within the combo. So in my receipt, my burger may cost less than hers and vice versa. Don't worry, on the accounting side is right because we proportion the VAT properly, so it's fine. But just don't be surprised if you see something changing.
We can actually see it here, so you can see the final price is 10 euros.
Yeah, it will always be 10 euros.
Indeed, we recompute in the back end, let's say, behind the scenes.
You will
the
see
prices.
it actually in the back end. It's not something you see in the front, but just be aware of it. If you say that you want the combo to be 10 euro, we will try everything. We will do everything to keep it at 10 euro. And that's it.
Okay, so we have a next question from Ai-chan Ditmo. So indeed, most restaurants owners have moved away from physical menus to have cloud-based menu. So how can we do that? Let me show you. So if I go into the configurations of my restaurant, you can see that I have activated here the QR menu plus kiosk activation. So you have different options. Either you just create a QR menu that can be consulted online, and you also have QR codes that you can put on the table so the clients can actually scan them and come on this internet page. You could add the self-ordering if you want, and then of course you have the kiosk option as well. But if you just activate this and you go here, you can print the different QR codes. If I'm not mistaken, Odoo also provides QR codes. You can order that.
You can order it directly from the POS.
Exactly. Maybe we can show it, but here I'm not in a restaurant setting. Let me just open one. And if you activate that, you have the get QR codes here that redirect you on a page, and you can just input your...
You can show the example at the bottom.
Yeah,
I hate the pictures.
Here you have the different examples, and you can just choose one and order them with your info.
And it's free.
And it's free. Now, if you just want to see the preview, you can go here and click on the web interface, and that's the link that the clients are going to be able to use. Now it's in French, probably because of my settings here that I have been using. So here you have, so basically you have the menu here. It's a digital version, so you can use that one. Okay, so the next questions. So do we have an existing integration with Uber and Deliveroo? That's a question from coming from LinkedIn, actually.
So yes, we do have since version 18. we use a hub called Urban Paper, and you can actually create an account and we link it with Odoo. And what does it do exactly? It's a hub that gather all the information and order you received online and bring it into the Odoo POS to make sure that from one screen you can have all the orders, you can accept them, refuse them, edit them, etc. So the whole idea was to reduce the cost for the restaurant owners that might need to then have a few tablets, because you pay for these tablets, so now you don't have to anymore. And Deliveroo and Uber are natively supported, so you shouldn't have any issue with it. For Belgium, we are still in discussion with Urban Paper to be able to bring takeaway, because it has been required a lot, but now we need to see with their R&D how we can build it together.
Okay, so we have a next question coming from LinkedIn as well. So for the management of booking reservation, can Odoo post-reservation be synchronized with the calendar application or with an e-commerce site? So the e-commerce site, definitely. So you just put the appointment basically online. If that's the question, if I'm mistaken, please correct me and we can answer that. For the calendar application, I just have a small doubt, but you can check if you go into the configurations. You can see that with the calendar, I just hope that appointment is linked to calendar, but I would guess so. You can activate Google Calendar or Outlook here, if that's a question. I hope I got it right. Okay, so we have other questions. So can guests book online and pay a deposit directly?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So
now you have the ability to add a product when you want your customers to take an appointment online to make sure they come.
Indeed.
You can also fix the price on it.
Let's see if I have the appointment here, but let's take, I think that's maybe the one here. Let's see. And here in the options, you have the upfront payment that you can add a product where the client needs to pay to confirm the booking, basically. So that would be the option here. Okay, let's continue with the questions. Yes, maybe a question here from Cabrit Technologies. So when multi-currency available on POS or different price lists with different currency? So indeed today we don't have that option. It's very difficult to manage this use case. Now what you could do as a workaround is create different point of sales associated with a different price list that is in a specific currency, and indeed manage it like that. But today it's not possible to manage everything in the same POS.
A task planned to do it, and the developer already started it. The thing is a little bit more complex at some point, but we aim to have it available for the next versions. Could be 19.4 or Odoo 20 at least. But well, it should be available quite soon. Be also aware that the way it will work is actually you just select the currency you want to use when it comes for the payments. We won't have different management of currency within the POS, different display. It's more like you are in an airport and then you come to pay. You have an amount and it's either that amount in euro or that amount in zloty, dollar or whatever. You can just select one of them and then you pay with this currency. So we'll start like this, see how it goes, but I don't think we need to make it overkill and over-complexify it.
Okay, so another question from LinkedIn too. Do the new self-service kiosk features allow you to display product variants like size, color, or upsells directly on the touch screen without going through the back office?
These other kiosk features allow you to display product variants, size, color, or upsell directly.
So the variants definitely.
You see it directly in the other screen. Maybe we can go to Odoo.
Yes, I'm going to let you.
Actually, it's the same. What you see here, the cell for the kiosk, is just about the responsiveness. Of course, some button and some pop-ups might differ, but most of them is the same. I need a product with variants. So this is how it goes. So you have your burger, bacon, and then you can actually just select what you want.
And the optional products were actually one that were going to come in the next versions.
T'as pas kiosque. Okay. I just want to say that all of it, of course, has been is responsive. So here the setting is not done, but if I'm working on a big screen, so 1080, 1920, of course the display is also adapted. You have bigger product card. If you put pictures, it will be displayed extra, of course. But we tried since 18.3 to have something very user-friendly and something, let's say, it's sexy. To use in order to be at the level of the market. The color are editable. If your company colors differ some or beautiful purple, of course you have yours. You can set your own splash screen with advertise logos, etc. So we went quite far with all these setups.
And it looks quite nice. So let's go for the next questions, just taking a look. So with the BlackBox 2.0 or the new versions, how does data synchronization work in offline mode if the server restarts? Are offline sessions automatically escalated without conflicts? That's a good question.
So everything that goes offline, we need a way to store the data, at least to buffer it in the time between. So don't worry if the BlackBox goes offline. We have an SD card in it, and we have a lot of memory. So you can just continue selling. The orders will be stacked, and whenever you get back online, then we just send the order by batch to the government server. So no worries about it.
Okay, we have a next question from A-chan Demo. So please explain how to set up multiple printers for different kitchen stations to order products separately from the receipt printer. So that's actually, with the new printer model, is even more easy than previously. I'm just going to go into the point of sale application, and here you have the printers. And so we have one printer model here to either set a preparation printer, so it's a kitchen printer, or a receipt printer. It can also be a bar printer, depending on where it is, of course. So here you put the IP address of the printer or connect via the IoT if you have an IoT installed in the database. You can use a local network, and here you decide which product categories from the POS categories you actually send to the bar, only drinks, let's say, or to the kitchen, only food, desserts, and so on. So that's how you set that up. Okay, so let's take maybe a few last questions, and then we can wrap it up. So we have a question from Alex Gargon.
From Alex, it's good.
From Alex, let's just say.
Can we use the other cashier machines from competitors? Depending what you mean cashier machines, just to make sure, maybe it's just the double screen station. Be aware that the Odoo POS just need to be able to run a browser. So as long as you can open late version of Chrome on it, the POS works. Don't worry. You can also use the second screen as a customer display. It works natively. No worry with it. If you use Windows, you can just drag and drop the tab with your mouse. If you use Android, we have a module that manages the second screen automatically. The rest is pretty fine. I mean, you know, the POS is quite light in terms of use. We made a lot of improvements to make sure to reduce the amount of RAM used by Chrome when you use the POS. We've made some drastic improvements in 19, so you can know about it. To make sure that machine with very low amount of RAM can run the POS without any issue.
I see two last questions here, one from Caleb. So how to activate Odoo POS offline. So here you don't need to do anything basically. When you open the session, the first time you open the session, you're going to load products, contacts into the browser, in the cache of your browser. So, and all the models, of course, that are needed to make sure you can do a sale, taxes, price list, and so on. And this is done automatically. So you don't need to do anything. And each time you reopen the point of sale, you're going to load new prices, new products, the new data, basically. So it's definitely automatic. Then we have a question about LinkedIn. So how does the fiscal position work on the POS? Can you set flexible taxes? So absolutely. You can either do it here. So I'm going to go into the configurations of my POS. and you have an option called flexible taxes. So if you activate this, you can set a default fiscal position and allowed fiscal positions that you can actually choose manually. Now, what's really interesting is that you can also use the presets, and the presets allow you to already pre-configure. Let's take the dine-in, for instance. You can add a fiscal position by default here, or you can use a price list as well that you push automatically here for that preset. No, here it's really used for dining, delivery, takeaway, because at least in Belgium, maybe in other countries, taxes differ if you eat in or out. So here with a fiscal position and price list, you can manage end prices and taxes, but you could use it in a POS retail shop as well.
And you can use the presets the way you want. We put demo data, dine-in, takeout, delivery, but if you want to call it like a special clients or maybe foreign VAT number clients, and you have specific actions to be applied, you can put whatever you want, and the POS will make the right computation when you actually select it.
Okay, I think that wraps it up. Thank you for your attention, and see you next time.